Good afternoon. This is Dr. Bill White with the American Orthodontic Society, and I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about step-down arches, or if you want to term an upper arch, you call it a step-up arch, but it's an arch wire primarily for the lower arch, to keep your upper cusp from hitting the arch wire, so you just drop the arch wire down and come back up where you need it further, where there's already teeth or there are teeth erupting. That's where you use this deal. Now I'm going to go back and show you this young lady, if I can get her up on the screen here. And then I'm going to show you only the problem we had with putting this step-down arch in this particular girl. Now, the young lady had a nice facial structure and everything, and I'm sure we were working with some extraction sites in here, and this was done back in 1978, I believe, and apparently that's where you sent your pictures in. If they weren't just right, well, you had to use them because you couldn't get any more back there. So here we put a step-down arch in for this young lady, and we've got the 6-year molar banded back here, and we come down and drop it across here and come all the way up, and now go around the arch and come in, did the same thing back in the back, and this holds the position of the teeth, and you can expand this, and it expands the roots of the teeth there. I'm going to show you an arch. We've got a kind of an arch wire here that I'll try to see if I can show you. Now, if you put a step-down arch in on somebody and have it contacting the brackets over on one side, and also you're going to have to squeeze it together to get it to contact the brackets on the other side. Now, when you do that, the bottom part of this arch goes down, if you'll notice, and then you slip this in the brackets of the tooth that you're pushing against, and watch the ends of this wire as they go up like that. Now, that is pushing the roots of the tooth. Now, if the tooth is straight up, when I bend this wire, it pushes the roots out. So as you expand an arch with these, they actually pushes the crown apart, and at the same time it pushes the roots apart. It is a neat thing to have, and when you do that, it pushes it up like that. You can see that, and now it'll make the roots and the crown move apart in a parallel manner. Now, if you're talking about closing space with this arch, you have to do another little trick, and I've got a wire here that shows that. Like when you're going to do this type thing and you're trying to close a space with it, you put this in, and now you've got a place to hang your tie back, and you pull it like that. And when you do, the center part of this raises up, and the legs of it go down like this. So as you're pulling the crown toward the other crown, the roots receive the same pressure, and they move along with the crown when you're doing that. Now, this is a neat trick that you do with a step down, or of course if you use it up above, you can call it a step up if you want to. So that is something really worthwhile in doing. Now, in this particular case, I made the step down too far, too much, and went across like this, and And I was trying to intrude these arches. In other words, you can make this arch go out and come down like this and come across and up and then circle back and do this like that. And you can take this back part and go down with it like that, and that'll make the front of it come down this way, and so you can intrude the lower anterior teeth simply while you're expanding it or retracting the arch and keep the teeth lined up. So this little arch wire has a lot of advantages. But what I did wrong, when I activated this, it caused the leg to stick out a little bit right in here. And when it did, see this gash in the tissue? This arch, I'm going to go on to another picture here and show you. There it is, and here is this place that the wire actually cut a groove in the tissue right here. Now, what happens, this wire was protruding out for that. This is after we adjusted it. And when she slept at night, it slipped, the tissue went underneath this, and it pressed and cut the circulation off of the teeth, of the tissue there, and it actually, the tissue just go around it, and it's not a, she didn't come in complaining with the pain or anything like that. I looked in there and I was like, oh my gosh. And that's one of the few times I ever did that, so I really watched it. So what we don't do, we just keep this thing up higher. Well, you got to have a little bit of up bend in there, and watch when you activate it. If you have this part down here and you're trying to intrude these teeth at the same time you're expanding or contracting, which you can do when you go ahead and set it in the brackets up here, and then see if this wire is impinging on the tissue. You see, we've still got a little impinging on that tissue back in the back of the mouth. So this is one drawback to it, but there's so many advantages to one of these step-down arches, I'm calling it, because that's where you use them. Most of the time, you haven't got all these teeth bracketed in here, and if you run a wire right here, your upper cusp, if they're in, hit this wire and bend it down. So you come in and drop it, but not that far, just about, maybe an eighth of an inch or something like that. Just drop it down, and that makes the difference in doing this. So I'm going to erase that, and we'll come back and now take a good look at that, where this tissue is just sliced open almost, but it did it very slow by cutting the circulation off, and the tissue healed around it, and it was just looked terrible. You know, you're really embarrassed if the patient, but the patient wasn't griping about pain or anything with it that way. And the other side we had done correctly, we dropped it off, but it's still too long and it's pressing a little bit too much there. So you got to regulate the legs of this where the pressure is very slight, or actually have it go right along where the tissue is, but not pressing into the tissue to keep it from doing that. So let's see what we have. I'm going to erase that and go to the next. Now up above we were not using that type of wire. We didn't need to. The occlusal surface wasn't touching here. It's the ones on the bottom that the cusp hit if the wire's in there. So that's where we use it most of the time, on the bottom. But up above, you know, we can expand and bring the roots with the crown, or we can contract and bring the roots with it down. We can intrude the teeth, pick them up, or we can extrude the teeth with this arch, where we're working on these teeth in the front part of the mouth, and we're working off of the molar back here. Now she just lost that deciduous tooth, and we were taking a picture there and took the thing, though it's a little bit bloody. Now let's go to another one. That's another of the lower. Now these lower deciduous molars will come out, and see, we've got the 4 anteriors. Here's the cuspid, and the bicuspid would come in here, take up part of this room, and then your second bi over there. You might have to expand some to get this to happen like you want it. So this is a good arch wire for doing that. Now we go. Now this is a close-up showing that wire. Now when she slept at night, she pushed this over here, and it came up, and the wire was down in here, and it cut the circulation off, and it'll cut it, and actually the pain is very slight, and it'll grow as it cuts it away, and it closed up, wasn't bleeding or anything else. And that's one of the few times this ever happened to me, so I thought I would point that out. That can happen. I'm going to later go in and do some more of these step-down cases and show you the advantages you get in doing that. So that's I'm going to say goodbye and good night, and I hope you get something from this, and tune in later, and we'll have some other step-down cases here that I want to show you where we didn't have this problem. So after seeing this, I was very careful to make the wire very short in that area, and had no trouble with it. It's cutting the tissue. So you activate it and then look at it. If you push it down, it may cause it to impinge on the tissue, and it may not be impinging until you put the pressure on the wire. So I'm going to say good night, and I hope you get something out of this, and I'll go ahead and close up the problem. Thank you again, and join our group, and we'd love for you to subscribe to it. Thank you very much.